In this video, we're going to be investigating a mathematical phenomenon which is what we call distributive property. Now, distributive property is a mathematical phenomenon which will require us to remember how to deal with exponent rules that we looked at in the previous two videos, as well as how to deal with polynomial operations that we did in the algebra unit. Specifically, in this case, we're looking at what happens when we have a term outside of a set of brackets with a polynomial inside the brackets like this, in this case the binomial. Now the first thing to do is recognize what mathematical operation is being done. Whenever we have a term, regardless of whether this is a constant or a variable, we have a term that is next to a bracket like this, and then we have some sort of polynomial inside the brackets like this, but no mathematical operation is shown. So the key to recognize this is that the term that is outside the brackets is being multiplied by everything inside the brackets like this. The question is, are we doing 3x times 2x squared, or are we doing 3x times negative 7? Well, the answer is we are actually doing both. So distributive property states that the term outside of the brackets is multiplied by all terms that exist inside the brackets. In other words, we are distributing 3x, the term outside the brackets, to every term inside of the brackets. So the first thing that we need to do in order to find what the overall polynomial is take 3x and multiply it by the first term, 2x squared. So if we multiply the coefficients together, 3 times 2 is 6. And then we can use our knowledge of exponent rules to do x times x squared. Now, it appears at first glance that x doesn't have an exponent, but remember, if there is no exponent listed, that means that there is an invisible exponent of 1 here, so x to the power of 1 times x to the power of 2. And we remember from our exponent rules, whenever we are multiplying two exponents together, we can simply add the exponents together. So 1 plus 2 is 3, so we can say x times x squared is equal to x cubed. Next, we need to do 3x times negative 7. First, we can multiply the coefficients together. 3 times negative 7 is going to be negative 21, and since there is no variable next to negative 7, the x just appears as x like this. And this is our overall binomial once we distribute 3x to each of the terms within the brackets here. Now, if we try another example, let's actually try example 2 here, because we have a monomial multiplied by a trinomial inside of the brackets here. So remember, according to distributive property, we are multiplying negative 3x by all of the terms inside of the brackets. So the first thing that we're going to do is negative 3x times x squared. X squared doesn't have a coefficient other than 1, so negative 3 times 1 is also negative 3, and then if we use our exponent rules, x to the exponent 1 plus x to the exponent 2, or times x to the exponent 2, we add the exponents, so we get x cubed like so, because adding the exponents, 1 plus 2 is 3. Then we have negative 3x multiplied by the middle term, which is just negative x. Now, if we have two negative numbers that multiply together, that means that our overall coefficient is going to be positive. So negative 3 times negative 1, because there's an invisible coefficient of 1 here, negative 3 multiplied by negative 1 is going to be positive 3, and then x times x. Remember that each of these x's has an invisible exponent of 1, and whenever we multiply exponents together, we add the exponents, so this will be x squared. And finally, if we take negative 3x multiplied by negative 4, again, if we multiply the coefficients, negative 3 times negative 4 is going to be positive 12, because whenever we multiply two negative numbers, the answer is going to be a positive number. And since negative 4 is a constant, there is no x term here. The x just gets carried over like this. So negative 3x times negative 4 is equal to positive 12x. And in short, that's how distributive property works. So once again, in conclusion, distributive property deals with the multiplication of a monomial to a polynomial in brackets like this. And in order to use distributive property, we're simply saying that the term outside of the brackets is multiplied to all of the terms inside of the brackets like this. So in order to practice your application of distributive property, you can take a look at the practice problems below and see if you can apply your knowledge of polynomials as well as exponent rules in order to solve the distributive property questions below.